Okay, groovers.
Welcome to Listen Like Fans for the love of INXS. I'm Bea, and each week I'll be joined by a different co-host as we dive into the songs, the stories and the moments that made us fall in love with this most iconic band on the planet. Let's go. Hi, and welcome to the very first episode of Listen Like Fans for the love of INXS. I'm Bea, and I'm very excited to launch this new podcast. Each week, I'll be joined by a different co-host, a guest, fellow INXS fan, sharing their stories, their connections to the music, and why this band still means so much to all of us. There's also plenty of fun along the way. Joining me today, my very first guest and co-host, is one of Australia's most respected music journalists, the brilliant Lars Brandl. Lars has spent over 2 decades at the coalface of music journalism, from writing for Billboard in London to shaping conversation back home at head of content at the Bragg Media. His work has appeared everywhere from Rolling Stones, Australia, New Zealand to Variety, and he's been a regular voice across radio, TV and global music panels, including MTV back in the day. But what really connects Lars to today's conversation is a deep understanding of INXS, not just as a band, but as a cultural force. Lars's contribution, like many of you, to the Calling All Nations fan history of INXS that came out in 2023 and was put together by the Universal Music Group, Petrol and This Day in Music Books, headed by Neil Cossa and Ollie Walsh. And in May of last year, Lars wrote a fantastic article in the Australian and New Zealand Rolling Stones magazine with our very own Kirk reflecting on the making of Listen Like These and the wonderful thrifty shoot behind one of the band's most iconic music videos. That piece came after Kirk joined me along with a bunch of mega INXS fans at a party that I organised to celebrate the 5th anniversary of the INXS Access All Areas podcast, which I used to co-host with Hayden Murdoch. A really full circle moment and the perfect way to kick off Listen Like Fans. So today I'm thrilled to welcome Lars for episode 1. Lars, thank you so much for being here.
Bea, the pleasure is all mine. You've done such great work. Come on.
You too, mate.
Well, mutual pats on the back. There we go.
Yeah, well, after 5.5 years of doing INXS Access All Area, I just wanted to mix it up a bit and really listen to the fan stories. And you're a huge fan of INXS.
Oh, yeah, I love INXS. They were certainly one of the Australian bands that really blew my hair back as a kid. I think Icehouse was the other.
Yeah.
They both had It's an overused expression, but new wave and post-punk. But I really see it as a sound that swept through really from the UK after the end of punk. But it incorporated, very importantly, the sound of the synthesizer as one of the mainstream instruments of that band. Prior to the 80s, bands tended to have bass, guitar, drums, and a vocalist, and that was it. You could have as many guitars as you wanted. But with the dawn of the 80s and what came out of the UK and with bands like Icehouse and INXS, you had a new sound. Mm-hmm. It was the sound of the synth, and we'd never really heard it used in that way before. There are so many bands now that want to sound like the early 80s. It's incredible. We've gone through this spin cycle of music. We're sort of back to the early 80s. If you listen to France's M83, it's like a time capsule, and INXS were at the absolute tippy top of that.
And you've also interviewed quite a few of the band members and been in a limo, I hear, with the band too.
Yes, me and Richard Wilkins. And the members of INXS, the surviving members of INXS. I've been lucky enough to interview members of the band on multiple occasions. I interviewed Tim in London almost 20 years ago before they did a show at the Wentworth Golf Club, which was fun with JD. And 2023, I spent time, had lunch with the band and limo and did all sorts of fun things. And yeah, that was a really special experience.
That was for their billion streaming, was that right?
Yeah, it was a few things. It was the publication of the fan book in which you and I both appear. I just checked. You are, I think, two pages ahead of me We have some pretty important real estate.
It was a fun book to help with. That was a great read. I still keep picking it up and finding new stories in there.
Yeah, it's a really fine book, and it was amazing spending time with the band members. And I did ask the question. I have a lot of gossipy things from those hours I spent with the lads. One of the questions I put to them was, would you reunite with the right singer?
Yeah.
And they said, yes. Their eyes lit up and they said, yeah, if we found the right singer.
Excellent. And this would be back in, what, 2023?
2023, during the first South by Southwest Sydney. And I even suggested some female singers, and they liked that idea. So hopefully we will see more INXS, but it could happen.
Yeah. Well, INXS will be turning 50 next year. It'll be their anniversary in August of next year. So my fingers are desperately crossed that they'll come out with a new song, or they'll just perform or do some sort of Q&A for us all or something. I'm going to do my part, Lars. I'm going to start a boat party on our famous Sydney Harbour, and I'm going to be getting at least 300 people together.
Sounds awesome. I want to come.
You better. Well, today we're going to do something a little bit different. I know it's the first about INXS, and we should be talking about INXS, but you've also got a love for Duran Duran. And we've got a bit of a crossover with all of that, haven't we, really?
There is much in common between both bands. Yes, I loved and still love INXS and Ice House and many Australian groups from my childhood. But the one that really, really turned me on was Duran Duran. It hit me like a punch in the face when I really understood what they were doing. It was a lifelong love affair. And, it's not a cult. They've certainly made albums which didn't hit the mark. And there are songs in their catalogue that don't do anything for me, or I don't need to hear again. But what they represented to me as maybe a 10-year-old was what a rock band could be. Most of it was Hollywood, certainly visually. But I'm Gen X, so I was brought up in what the Americans call the MTV generation. We didn't have MTV, but we had various music video platforms. And I remember from a very young age, Planet Earth, I remember Simon jumping off the platform at the end. I remember thinking that was pretty cool. But it was the Russell Mulcahy directed music videos from the second album, Rio. It was...
oh, well, they are just larger than life, aren't they?
Well,
on boats, yeah.
Yeah, but they presented this image.
We wanted to go down the Roxy music side of things, and I think they put that together quite well without being Roxy music, don't you think?
Yeah, well, they loved Roxy music. They adored Roxy music. They adored Chic. They adored David Bowie, and you can hear how all of that came together in that music. But hanging out off the back of a boat, a yacht in Antigua, or, playing your best Indiana Jones character in Sri Lanka, those videos with the sound, and obviously the Rio album is an absolute classic. Prior to that, for me, the idea of a rock star was a bloke drinking Jack Daniels from the bottle. But he had guys with sophistication whose videos were filled with models in these tropical paradises with this great music. And I was thinking at age 10 or 12, yeah, that's for me.
Yeah.
You bring it on.
Yes, I was quite invested coming from Birmingham myself. I do remember one of those videos where some young girl is wringing out a rag and the water's going into Simon's mouth or something. They're talking about Jack Daniels in a drink. I don't think that was probably Jack Daniels in that rag at the time.
That is from the music video for Hungry Like the Wolf. Wow. He's on a rock and it's a little boy squeezing a rag into his mouth, and he's spoken of that moment, and that rag was apparently filthy.
Yeah.
So when you watch Simon having that rag unspooled in his, it's pretty foul.
All right. Well, INXS fans, we are going to talk about INXS together. We are going to be doing sort of a little bit of a playoff, aren't we? We're going to be going through our favourite ballad, chart success, B-side, deep cut, and live performance. And we're having a bit of fun with this. But we do have a bit of a crossover with INXS that you did mention there, which was Nile Rodgers more so.
Yeah, well, as the legend goes, Molly Meldrum hosted a party in Melbourne for Duran Duran in 1983. And Original Sin was on the radio. It was on MTV. It was doing its thing. It was doing its magic worldwide. And apparently he put that record on again and again and again for the members of Duran Duran. He said, you need to listen to this. You need to listen to it. Listen again. We know what Molly was like. Do yourself a favor. And the lads paid attention, and they were very curious as to who was the producer of that record. Of course, it was Nile Rodgers from Chic. And they went away, they made some phone calls, and from that came The Reflex, which was produced by Nile Rodgers. The album version from Seven and the Ragged Tiger has almost a completely different intro. So Nile came in, jazzed it up, gave it muscles, and it became a worldwide smash thanks to INXS and Nile Rodgers.
Yeah, and funny enough, that is my sort of entry into the INXS world, because my girlfriend at the time when I was at college was massively into Duran Duran. And she says, have you read this in Melody Maker? John and Simon are talking about this band called INXS. I think you'll really like them. That's your type of band. So we went to see INXS on the back of hearing it in Melody Maker from Duran Duran talking about INXS.
They had so much in common. Also great looking lads, both bands.
Yeah.
Fantastic looking lads. And they had larger lineups than many bands of their era, which meant that they didn't cheat when they performed live.
No.
So you had a guy who played sax in the band, or he could interchange between guitar and sax, or a guy who could interchange from keyboards to guitar. So what you saw in the studio could be replicated on stage, and I thought that was really important. And both bands could do that, and both also had fantastic music videos.
Yes.
You think of Listen Like Thieves, the Richard Lowenstein video, these epic cinematic video. Both bands were doing those. And when I strip it all away, when you stop being clever with the music videos and the songwriting, the recordings, you ask yourself, would teenage girls have posters of these bands on their walls? And the answer is yes. It's a resounding yes. These were bands that really, really crossed the generations in every aspect of pop music culture. And there's a band member whose surname is Beers. I mean, how could that, there couldn't be anything more Australian than that, surely.
No. And those two boys in Duran Duran that have got the same surname as well.
Well, actually three.
Three of them.
Taylors.
Taylors, that's right.
Three Taylors, and none of them are related, which is pretty bizarre. One of them is from your hometown, Birmingham.
Well, it's two, isn't there? It's three, really.
One of them, Andy Taylor, is from Newcastle, I believe. He's from the north of England.
Yeah.
Roger, I'm not sure. I believe he lived some time.
He was in the Midlands because I knew all about them at the time. And he used to have his own equestrian or horses not too far away from where I was living. Mm.
There you go.
Yeah.
I did not know.
There you go. So yeah, I know a little bit. He loved these horses. All right, well, let's get straight into this.
Let's.
All right, so the rules are, it's not a competition. Of course it is.
Between an English woman and an Australian man, it's not a competition. Right. Okay.
But it's more about the feels. This program is more about the feels. So it's more about what it really means to you. Okay, I think we'll start off. I'm going to give you the first one, hey? We'll start with the most successful or the biggest chart hit.
Yeah, well, I could probably lean on 5 or 6.
Gonna pick one.
I'm only picking one because it's no competition. I'm going with the title song from the 1985 James Bond film A View to a Kill.
Oh, really? Oh.
It was the first James Bond theme song to go to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. So piece of history for Duran Duran. It's important in so many ways. First of all, I think to write a theme song would be the ultimate challenge because there would be so many cooks working with that broth. Mm-hmm. You would have producers, directors, money men. Half of the film studio would be applying pressure on you to shape that song. Mm. And it would have been a real challenge. We also know that Duran Duran split after that song, or they were in the process of splitting. So A View to a Kill was really the last song of the classic lineup for 20 years.
Wow.
Right. So they split. They became a trio after that song.
Yeah, they went into different. They went into different projects each, didn't they? They literally a 3-3, wasn't it?
Well, they split into Arcadia and
Right.
the Power Station.
Mm.
And now
Both
Duran Duran.
equally great albums.
Yes.
They're both those two albums.
Great records. And I might even touch on one of those a little later.
Mhm.
But A View to a Kill was really important for a number of reasons. It was the end of Duran Duran as we know it, and we didn't know it at the time. It's a fantastic track. It absolutely slaps. It was the first James Bond track to go to number one in the US. And I just love it.
I think that was the only James Bond movie I went to the cinema to see just because I knew that Duran Duran were going to be singing.
Well, here's a little background. I visited Europe at age 12 in 1985. It was July 1985 with my family. We went to Leicester Square. We saw A View to a Kill at one of those mega 2-story movie cinemas.
Yeah.
We were pretty jet lagged. I remember we sat front row. My mum fell asleep from jet lag.
Yeah.
But
Wow, it was quite epic. It was with Grace Jones, wasn't it?
Grace Jones's Mayday. That's right.
Yes.
So that's my pick.
That's
What do you
your
have for me?
pick. Okay, well, it has to be What You Need. Opening track from Listen Like Thieves in 1995. Just such a great song. The that crashing drums as it opens up, and it was like a global phenomenon. It just went from country to country. UK didn't really get it at first. It reached number 52, and then it got re-released and went a little bit higher, or a lot higher, I should say. Also, it got lots of awards for the video too. So that was very groundbreaking at the time. That song, you just don't get bored of it either. When it comes on, it's like your ears pick up for that intro of John's and the drums.
That song to me represents the moment when INXS had outgrown Australia and they had become a global band. And if at that point I was in the early years of high school when that song came out, and if you'd have seen that music video on television and you did not know anything about INXS, you would have assumed they were British or American.
Yeah.
And that they had the machinery of the record industry behind them. They were, at that point, a global band.
Yeah, and they owned it, didn't they? They looked so good, especially on the MTV awards and stuff. Awesome. And then Richard Wilkins, your friend, was actually interviewing them that night too.
He's a sweetheart. His book will be fantastic when he writes it.
Oh, is there a book coming out soon for Richard?
We all have a book coming, B. We're all writing one. It's just finding the time to complete it.
I just saw that he was up in Brisbane, actually, or around the Gold Coast, interviewing Baz about the new Elvis documentary that's coming out. That looks very interesting.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's another podcast, that one.
And yeah, I'd like to get Richard on. I know he's a busy bee, but yeah, I'd like to get him. He's got
Lovely man.
his own podcast with his son, hasn't he?
Yes, absolutely. His son's Richard's also very tall. He's about my height. I think he's 6'3".
Wow.
And it runs in the family.
Yeah, well, the looks go with the son, definitely. He's a very handsome younger man. Okay, next one, best ballad.
Yeah, so I really struggle with splitting these two, but I will have to go with Ordinary World. Because for so many reasons, it's a poignant song. It represented a new era of Duran Duran, and it dropped in 1993, gave the band a whole new lease on life. It was the comeback no one expected or few saw coming. Bands from the early part of the 80s, very few of them survived into the 90s. I mean, you can count them certainly on one hand. You had Depeche Mode, you had The Cure. U2, of course, had been the biggest band in the world in the second half of the 80s and managed to carry through into the early part of the 90s. But Ordinary World just literally came from nowhere. The video, of course, was amazing. And there's a scene where the band members are wearing suits and they're barefooted. And of course, I had to borrow that concept for my own wedding. Myself and my groomsmen were all barefoot. No word of lie. That was stolen from the music video of Ordinary World.
Romantic. So your wife likes Duran Duran as well?
She had no choice. She had no choice. A wife is South African, and she actually saw Duran Duran in South Africa. So the answer to that is yes. And she's never complained about me playing Duran Duran music really loud on Friday night, drinking champagne, as is my wont. Yeah, she likes Duran Duran. And we've seen them many times when we lived in the UK. So we did live the life. But my choice is Ordinary World.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful song. I don't know if you've ever listened to my other show, INXS Access All Areas, but one of our contributors and guests is Nick Egan. I don't know if you know that name, but Nick actually filmed that video for Duran Duran. In fact, Nick Egan is best friends with John Taylor.
Well, there you go. That's a good story. That's a really good story.
And me and Nick are going to be doing a podcast very soon about his life because there's a book in there. In fact, John Taylor coined Nick's nickname as the Creative Vandal. Yeah.
That's great.
I know, it's a good one. But
Let me have yours.
Mine,
Keep me waiting.
I think you know what it's going to be. It has to be.
Never Tear Us Apart.
It has to be, doesn't it? Really.
Yeah.
They have got some beautiful other songs that, like Not Enough Time. But this is just so iconic. It just gets straight to the heart. Michael's performance at Wembley was amazing on this as well. But the actual song for the album and single, wow, from beginning to end, it's just a magical experience. And it's been covered so many times. I mean, even at Christmas time and New Year, over that period, I saw 2 new artists. Amazing that this song just keeps getting airplay more and more and more. And the video, again, Richard Lowenstein, and the video shot in Prague, just along the river there and taking in the bridge and the graveyard there. I think that's a Jewish graveyard. You feel the cold and the snuggleness and the heartbreak. And yeah, it's just wonderful. And the fact that he wrote it for his girlfriend, Michelle, at the time.
Oh, it's everything about that song is perfect.
Yeah.
The music video is really important part of the story. And I don't think my kids' generation are connected with music videos in the same way that we are. I don't think they have the attention span to watch them.
Right.
Which is most unusual. I didn't expect that to happen. The video, as you point out, was shot in Prague, but before the Iron Curtain fell.
Yeah.
So it was a glimpse of this fairy tale city before really the rest of the world had discovered it. It was 1987. And I had no idea what this place was as a kid, but I sure wanted to go there. I've twice been to Prague, and it's obviously commercialized in so many ways since that video was made. But it's like taking a step back into medieval times, that music video.
It is. And when you look at it, it looks timeless. It looks like it should be sort of like back in the day. Michael does look like some sort of like prince walking along there. But yeah, that's got to be the ballad for INXS, top of my chart.
It's absolutely the right choice. And of course, last year, Triple J had its very first countdown of 100 Australian songs, the hottest 100 of Australian songs. And that came in at number 1.
And we were really surprised, weren't we?
Yeah, but happily surprised.
Oh my goodness, very, very much so. I mean, my daughter, who's 17 at the time, she messaged me, she goes, Mum, INXS the number 1. Like, what? I wasn't even following it. It was amazing.
I didn't expect it at all. It was my birthday party when that countdown was taking place. And we were at a very boozy lunch, which continued all day. And I had my phone playing the countdown the entire day off our table. It was a massive moment when that song came in at number 1. Did not expect it at all. And we know Triple J is a youth network. It's targeted at 18 to 24-year-olds. So for that song to come in at number 1 means that the song is resonating with younger people. And I can happily point out that I've caught my daughter when she was maybe 15 playing that song in her bedroom really loud. I didn't give it to her. I didn't say, you must hear this. She discovered it all on her own. She loves it.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, it's a beautiful song. Yeah, my daughter and my son love that song too. And it's going to be featuring it already has, featured in an advertisement for Toy Story, which is coming out next year as well.
Yes.
Or at the end of the year, maybe. Yeah.
Toy Story 4. Is that right?
I don't know, is it 4 or 5? I can't keep up, to tell you the truth. Yeah. Go Buzz and Woody. We love that. All right, let's go on to our next one, which is the best B-side.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'll goes sort of deep in with this. The best B-side for a Duran Duran song was the B-side for Union of the Snake, and it's called Secret October.
I do remember that, yes.
Well, there's something important. There's a story behind the story. Now, first of all, if I wanted to introduce Duran Duran to someone who knew nothing about them, I would point out that they were essentially an art project, which is how John Taylor has described them. Secret October is two things. It's Simon singing about butterflies escaping killing jars, so pure poetry from the early 80s, and Nick Rhodes' synthesizer with the drum machine. There's no guitars, there's no drums. Right. So it's literally the duo of Nick and Simon. It sounds like no other song they've ever created. Now, Duran Duran were living in Australia at the time when they recorded this. Margaret Thatcher was applying 90% tax rates to the filthy rich at the time. So they did what most wealthy Brits did, and they came to Australia for a year and spent all the money that they would have paid on tax on partying. That's what they did. And their record company told them one night, we need a B-side for Union of the Snake, and we need it for tomorrow morning. And Nick told me this in an interview some years ago in the UK. Simon had his book of lyrics, and Nick got on his synthesizer, and they went into 301 Studios in Sydney, and they made this record, this most unusual B-side. And then it would have been sent off in a plane, and there you have it. I transcribed that piece of the interview, and I sent it to one of my besties. He's also a massive Duran Duran fan, and there's no word of lie here. I sent the email from my office in London, and as I sent it, there was an email that had come back from him while I was writing it. And it was an email from him to say that his friend had just bought the mixing desk from 301 Studios in Sydney on which Secret October was recorded. Oh. It was weird, right? Like, we still laugh about it. These planets aligned. Yeah. So there was me sending, it was completely random, me sending a piece of a quote from an interview with Nick Rhodes talking about the process of recording that track in 301 as he was sending me an email to say a friend of his had just bought
a big sign.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
So that's like the story behind the story is Secret October, but it's an absolutely magical track.
Yeah, I haven't listened to it for a very, very long time. And me being born in October, I remember it being on the back of there. And you too?
No, I'm a July kid.
All right, okay. I'm putting your thumb up there. But yeah, October people are the best. So anyway. No,
are they? Well, I'll take a note of that.
Okay, well, mine, I don't know if you've ever heard this song, but it's a very, very deep one. And you can only find it on maybe some singles that were in the UK. And it was called Deepest Red.
Deepest Red?
Yeah. Oh, I've got one here he doesn't know about. Okay.
Well, no, I don't have access to that single because I wasn't living in the UK then.
Yeah, you might be able to find it on YouTube if you put it in. So INXS Deepest Red. And it was when Michael and John were living together in Hong Kong and they collaborated together. It should have been on one of the albums, but God knows why it's not, because it's absolutely beautiful. What the song's about, it's about breaking up, and it's pretty, the opening lyric is Judas Kiss. But it's absolutely a fantastic song, and I can't wait to play it for you.
I can't wait to hear it. Good choice.
Thank you.
We mentioned earlier Duran Duran in 85 split, and their performance at Live Aid was a post-split performance. Mm-hmm. Probably best known for Simon's voice skidding out during A View to a Kill. It's quite legendary. The worst thing that could possibly happen with 1 billion people watching, right? But they split into two camps. One was Arcadia, an art project. The other was a funk rock project, Power Station. The Arcadia record sounds like where Duran Duran might have gone next had they not split. And there's a song, I believe it's the last track on side A. If you remember your vinyl, it's called Missing, and it's a very, very touching song. apparently inspired by the story of a father who lost his child.
Oh.
But the music video is, I've got goosebumps.
Oh.
The music video is a piece of art. Yeah. Now, I can claim Arcadia as being a Duran Duran record because it actually has 4 of the band members on that record. So Simon and Nick are the mainstays of Arcadia. Roger, actually, the drummer, was on both Power Station and Arcadia. And in one of the music videos from the Arcadia album, a song called The Flame, John Taylor, the bass player, appears. So all 4 members of the current lineup of Duran Duran are in that Arcadia project. So there you have it.
Okay, I'll let you have that one then. If I'm going to let you have that one, then I have to go and talk about the Max Q album.
Yeah, why not? What a great record.
What a great record, yes. And we are, fingers crossed, that we're going to be hearing very soon re-releases with new songs and new remixes of songs as well, very, very soon. I've been talking to my friend Bruce Butler. I don't know if you know Bruce, back in Melbourne. He runs a club down there. But yeah, so I am going to my favourite of the album, which is Ot Ven Rot. Actually written by Ollie Olsen, who collaborated with Michael on a lot of the music and the lyrics. But Michael's singing the song, and it's absolutely fantastic. Wow. You have to listen to that. You've heard it?
Yeah, I had the album. I always thought the artwork looked like one of the members of Doug Anthony All-Stars. I'm not sure if that means anything to you. The Way of the World, of course, was a massive song. That album, that first album really made some noise in Australia on its release.
Yeah, it's a shame that they weren't able to really, advertise it and have Michael's face on it. But again, Nick Egan, did the artwork for that. So yeah, massive friend of Michael's as well as John Taylor's at the time. But yeah, that album, definitely needs a re-release. All right, going on to your favourite live performance.
Yeah, so hand on heart, I wasn't here, but we're not competing. I think probably the most important Duran Duran show is when they headlined Hyde Park in 2022. In the summertime, they had 70,000 people in a park, in the most famous park in the United Kingdom, possibly the most famous park in the English-speaking world. Central Park in New York might argue with that. But they played in July. They had Nile Rodgers and Chic supporting them, and they played all of the hits, and it was the sort of comeback that every rock star can only dream of. And there's another of my favorite bands of that era was Simple Minds from Glasgow. There's an excellent documentary on the band, and they had the experience of getting to the top of the summit and falling down the other side. Jim Kerr, the lead singer, speaks of the experience of driving past the stadium, which they had played packed back in the day, to go to a small venue which was half empty.
Oh.
So they have had that experience, and he talks about the desperation of climbing back to the summit, which is almost impossible, right? Mm-hmm. But you'd never write it off. But with that show in 2022 in Hyde Park, they climbed the top of the summit.
And what was the capacity? How many were in the audience?
70,000.
Oh,
70,000.
That's pretty good.
To see early 80s heavyweights, Duran Duran, a band that was written off in the 90s, written off in the 2000s and 2010s.
I went to see Duran Duran in 2002 or 2000, and they were still packing out stadiums when I was in England.
Were they playing arenas? I saw them at Wembley Arena.
It was the O2 Arena. In fact, I'll tell you who was supporting them, Scissor Sister. It was the first time I heard them, and I fell in love with them. Oh, my God. That was it.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, I saw Scissor Sisters a few times. They're an American band, but they were signed in the UK.
Yeah.
So the Brits owned that music like no one else. They couldn't get arrested in the US.
Yeah. I remember waking up the next day with bruises all over my legs, and I was like, what did I do? How have I got all these bruises around my legs? And what it was where you have to dance and and it was the actual arms of the chairs bruised.
Ironically, one of their big hits is I Don't Feel Like Dancing, but you did feel like dancing.
I did. I couldn't stop dancing. Oh, yeah. Well,
Great band.
fantastic.
Great band.
But
So that's my. I could have gone deep into the Sing Blue Silver long form concert video from, I think it was 1984, and the music video for the Reflex captured them. They were one of the first bands to ever use the big screen to help the fans at the back see the action. And of course, they're in the Guinness Book of World Records for having the noisiest audience
oh, really?
the show. Yeah, so that's how random fact that
That's
everyone.
a random fact. I'm sure there should be some challenges there. I'm sure INXS can get into the Guinness Book of Records for something. Okay, well, I'm going to have to go for Wembley, which again was also in July, which is funny enough. But I can top you. The crowd there was over 72,000 people, and it's one of the most iconic live performances of a rock band. I mean, rock bands also think of it as a masterclass performance. It was just unfaulted. And the fact that Chris Murphy had the foresight to actually film it, and so we can now put that onto 4K and it's become a film, Live Baby Live, is just wonderful. And if I'm in a bad mood, that one definitely goes on.
Is it Live Baby Live or is it Live Baby Live?
I always say Live Baby Live, but you can say Live Baby Live. It doesn't matter what you want to say.
What a great moment, music history, that show was. Because we saw it in Australia. We later learned that Chris Murphy rolled all of their earnings from that show into the recording, so they didn't make a dime from it. They didn't make a penny from it.
I think there's a famous line from Michael saying it just about covers my champagne bill.
That's exactly right. And it would have been some bill, let's face it.
We were very lucky to have on the INXS Access All Areas show Mark Opitz, who was the actual sound guy and produced the album afterwards as well. But yeah, there's some great footage from behind the scenes of Michael going on. I mean, John just getting up on the stage and giving the peace sign and putting a few drum chords out, and the boys being in the back and running forward and then just jamming it out before they just took it to another level. It was just amazing.
See, at that point in time in Australia, we were, well, not me, but the rest of Australia was stuck in this rut of tall poppy syndrome, as we called it. Yeah. And if an artist became too big or they went overseas to find their fame, they were often cut down. It's like, oh, well, you couldn't cut it here, so you had to go away and may as well stay there. With the footage that we saw from Wembley, I think everyone was just proud and stoked at these guys. And we also tend to forget that the UK was late to the party. Yeah. America was much earlier on board with INXS thanks to their network of college radios. That wasn't their first moment really in the limelight away from home, but geez, they did it so well.
Did it so well. Okay, quick fire round. Okay, I'm going to throw some questions to you, and if you want to answer them quick, and you've just said on air that you've got some questions for me, which I have no idea what they were. So here we go. You ready for this?
Yes.
Drum roll. Okay. Favorite album?
Brio.
Okay. Favorite album for INXS?
The Swing.
Interesting. Okay, most underrated song, maybe Your Deepest Cut. I think you've just really said that though, haven't you? Most underrated song.
The song that underrated or that people should be speaking about was at the darkest era of Duran Duran's journey. It was when there were two members. It was Simon and Nick. No one was listening to the band anymore at year 2000 or 2001. And they did an album, and there was a Medazzaland. There was a song on it, Someone Else Not Me. It's a beautiful song. It's a ballad. And in John Taylor's memoir, he talks about how he met up with the remaining members of the band and they played that for him. And that was the song that inspired him to get back into the band.
Into it.
So, and there's another part of the story. That song was a hit in Italy. And Italy was the last country that held the flame for Duran Duran. And they were playing arenas, probably stadiums throughout Italy at the time where the rest of the world had forgotten them.
Interesting
and
country.
that song was a hit.
Yeah, interesting country. I'm very much watching all the fan commentaries that go on all the different socials. And INXS have a lot in Brazil, and Argentina and Canada is a massive one as well, but not so much Italy. So that's interesting.
The music video for The Reflex was filmed in Canada.
Oh, really?
Yes. So they've always had a connection, but yeah, Italy kept the flame alight.
Good on him. Good on him. Okay. Song you'd recommend to a new fan?
Okay. So I will have to get a little bit intellectual on this one. So it depends. I would have to judge what type of person this was, whether they were a musician or just a casual music fan.
Okay, let's go a young person.
A young person, I would probably tell them to listen to Hungry Like the Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the most Duran Duran song, if there could be one. It's so tight. Every band member is doing their thing. It's like it shouldn't work on paper, but they're all flying. They're all taking they're all in fifth gear or sixth gear. Tight. The arpeggiator on the synth, the power chords, it absolutely rocks. I would probably go with that. Or if they were musicians, I would suggest Save a Prayer, because it's a masterclass in creating a sound bed with synthesizers. Mm-hmm. I would suggest to anyone who wanted to hear what kind of a wall of sound you could create with a synth and what was being done 40 years ago, 45 years ago, that's the track.
It's hard to pick one, isn't it? As you're talking, I'm like, what would I choose from the INXS catalogue? And so lucky that there's so many amazing songs out there. I mean, Don't Change, you'd have to say, you've got to listen to that song. Devil Inside, it's just, especially at the Wembley gig at the end there, it's just like, wow, please don't stop. Keep going.
And guitarists are always looking for the riff that everyone wants to play. And Devil Inside had that riff. Yeah. You might only create one great riff in your lifetime as a lead guitarist, but that's it. Yeah, Don't Change has something magical about it.
Very.
And it's the energy of a young band on top form. Mm-hmm. And that absolutely captured it in the studio. And when you watch the music video with that pickup truck moving into the studio, and the band members jumping off it, and it's just a moment in time. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know that that wasn't supposed to have happened. I think it was raining outside, and they were at some sort of airfield, so that's why it was actually filmed inside the what do you call it, the air shelter instead of being outside.
Yeah, perfect. You can't beat that.
The hangar, that's right. I've spoken to Tim about those two songs, and he says they are pretty epic, and you have to play them at the end because you actually fall on with the guitar for both.
You have to work up to a track like that. It's all energy, and it's incredible that they captured it not just in the recording but also in the video. I mean, they in my mind they're attached to the hip.
Have you ever been to see an INXS tribute band in Australia?
I have not, no.
Can I recommend going to see Don't Change? Talking about Don't Change. They're called Don't Change, the Ultimate INXS Tribute Band.
Taking note to self.
Yeah, so a couple of weeks ago, we had a party for Michael. It was called Hutch 26, and at the end of the evening, after a coach tour and an amazing day together with, I think there was about 30 of us, we all packed into the DYRSL to see Don't Change with their frontman called Blair. And my gosh, I was talking to Hayden about it in our last show, and he was saying, you can't get any closer than it not being the real band. They really just pick you up and just, you're on that journey straight away. It's pretty epic. And they come to Brisbane, and that's where you are, isn't it? I think Brisbane.
Yes.
Yeah, they come to Brisbane quite regularly. So yeah, you'll have to go. And when you go, tell me, because I'll come with you.
Love to. It's in my notebook. And I'll also point out, I said someone else, not me, was from the album Pop Trash, not Medazzaland. I'm sure I will have a Durrani come after me for making that error. So apologies, Pop Trash. But that was a very difficult point for that band, and that was a very important song, which was lost in the annals of time, and it should be heard.
A song that you wish people would talk about more?
Duran Duran came from those influences that I mentioned earlier, the Chic and Nile Rodgers and Bowie and Brian Ferry and Roxy music. And with their first album, they showed some of those influences. I played a trick on a colleague in the UK many years ago who hated Simple Minds. He hated Duran Duran. And of course, I dug out some of these old gold tracks, which he would never have heard, and played them and said, "What do you think of that?" And he said, "Oh, it's pretty good. Who is it?" I said, "It was Duran Duran. You hate them." And it was Friends of Mine.
Yeah.
Friends of Mine is a most unusual track off the first album. It's what we call a fan favorite.
Yeah.
With Georgie Davis is coming out, No More Heroes, We Twist and Shout. The lyrics are absurd. It's dark. It's weird. We should be talking about it more.
I feel if you were to ask me that question about Duran Duran, it would be The Chauffeur.
Yes.
I adore that song. The video is pretty risque even. But yeah, that I just have to stop and listen to that.
The Chauffeur, I'm told, is the Duran Duran song that has been covered the most
Oh, really?
of all of their songs.
Yeah.
Powderfinger covered it on a tribute album many years ago. The music video is something else. And if you're over the age of 18, let's just go have a look at it. It's a piece of art.
Well, even Girls on Film is a bit risque as well, isn't it? With the girls in the boxing ring.
Well, geez, we could have an
that.
entire podcast about that.
I think that might be one of the reasons that you started, your ears picked up and eyes picked up on that one.
Yeah, well, there is...
If you can see stars right now.
Well, there are two versions of Girls on Film. There's the single version and there is the night version. And this was something that only an 80s kid would know. It was the 12-inch recording. We talk about singles and B-sides, but the 12-inch or the extended version was often 8 or 9 minutes long of your favorite song, and it collected the single version and the B-side on the other side. Yeah. So if you had to make a choice between buying the single or the extended version, you had to buy the extended version, right?
Of course, yeah.
And it was 12-inch size, so it was the same size as an album. But early Duran Duran discovered that they could remix their songs, and those songs would be played in nightclubs on big screens. It's sort of at or before MTV, but they broke out in America because some of their songs were being played in nightclubs on big screens.
Yeah.
And the Duran Duran night versions were remixed songs for those nightclubs. Girls on Film was directed by Kevin Godley and Lowell Cream from 10cc.
I wondered that.
And I spent some time with Kevin Godley in the south of France some years ago, and I asked him about the video, which was shot in France, in Paris, the naughty uncut version, that one. And his response was, "You should have seen the rushes," which is to say that there are pieces that never made the video that he probably owns. Will we ever see them? I don't know. But yeah, Girls on Film was very important for young minds everywhere, I think.
Well, if I was to go for a risque video for INXS, it'd have to be Taste It.
Ooh, good choice.
Yes. And I would like to see what was not edited into that as well.
Who do we call?
Who do we call? I know, definitely. Yes, I think that could be a new release. In fact, that doesn't get played too much on the radio over here in Australia, does it?
No. But
No.
it should. And maybe you'll resurrect it with this podcast. Okay, my question for you.
Oh, all right.
Do you have an INXS tattoo? If not, what would it be and where would you have it?
Well, the reason why I don't have a tattoo is because I can't decide. But I have very many INXS accessories. So
Yes.
I have a lot of those, lots of badges and things. But yeah, it'd have to be a lyric. But I can't decide. Oh, there's so many. There's just so many.
I can tell you, having sat next to Garry Beers at lunch, he has an INXS tattoo.
He does, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe INXS eagle on the arm. I have been toying with one. I do have some real estate on my forearm. So yeah, that's a work in progress.
So you have some. Yeah, I am going to get one done. I have got a tattoo. Well, in fact, I've got 2 tattoos, which I had done back in the early 90s when I bleached my hair and had my nose pierced and had a tattoo. And I was about to get engaged and get married. And I was like, I don't think so. That was the rebel in me. Okay, have you got any more questions for me?
I think you've answered all of the questions.
It's great.
What is the most INXS song? What is the INXS song that represents INXS more than the other INXS songs?
Well, I mean, apart from the ones that we've mentioned, which was Never Tear Us Apart up there, we've talked about Devil Inside, we've talked about What You Need You Tonight, New Sensation. I mean, a lot of these are off Kick, aren't they? I mean, Kick album is full of hits. It's just back to back with hits.
4 of which went to the top 10 in America. Need You Tonight went to number 1. So my answer to that, while you have a little think about it, and it's a song that we haven't mentioned, but it's from the third Duran Duran album, and it's called New Moon on Monday. New Moon on Monday, for me, has to be the most Duran Duran of the Duran Duran songs.
Yeah.
In the everything builds to its chorus. It's got these absurd lyrics. Shake up the picture, the lizard mixture. Whatever the lizard mixture is, I don't know. When we dance on the eventide. I don't know what he's talking about.
I don't know what he's talking about. Give me some of that. I suppose later on, Elegantly Wasted really shows up INXS as well. You know, the way that Michael was swaggering around and singing that song. I mean, it just looks amazing with his new look, with his dark hair. And that album for me meant a lot that they came back with. I've spoken about it a lot. It's really right from Michael's diary, isn't it? It's all about him and what he was going through at the time. And wow, there's some absolutely epic tracks on that. I think that's a bit of a lost album for people, unless you're in INXS diehard like me. All right, so I'm happy to wrap this up now.
I think we've done well, B.
So what surprised you the most about our little talk there? There was lots to talk about.
I think that we are pretty closely connected in our tastes. It's funny that you came from Birmingham, which is the hometown of the band that I fell in love with as a kid. I, at a very young age, probably between 10 or 12, decided that I would live in the UK. I would live in London, and I did for 12 years. Met my wife there. My firstborn was born in South London at Royal St George's Hospital. So you've done the opposite. You've gone in the opposite direction. You've gone from the UK to Australia. So we're pretty similar in more ways than I realised.
Did you ever go to the Rum Runner?
I did not. No, I actually very much wanted to. I only got to Birmingham once for a cricket match at Edgbaston. Also, Andy Taylor owned a wine bar in the north of England, which I was keen to get to, but I never got up there.
Never got to.
So I'm not sure if the Rum Runner is still open.
I think it's had a few changes of name since, which is very sad. But yeah, I mean, that would be like fantastic if that ever opened again. I'm very lucky that the fact that I am in Australia. I mean, the first thing I did as soon as I got off the plane was, where are they?
You know, I also interviewed Chris Murphy, CM Murphy, a number of times.
Did you?
Before his passing.
Yeah.
He was an interesting cat. He loved to talk. I do remember the first interview I did with him, and we probably spoke for an hour, and I had another interview, and I think he was miffed that I had to stop him talking. He was a very, very good talker.
Really?
He loved INXS, and he loved studying data and studying information that came from marketing. And he saw opportunities for that band around the world, which really no one else did. And he re-engineered the second story of INXS, the post-Michael story, which was to really shut them down as a band and leverage the recordings.
Yeah, I see that, definitely. I've mentioned that. I think that's when he came back, which I think was 2014, something like that, and worked with Universal, and yeah, just went, right, you're going to be a legacy band now. And it's worked, hasn't it? Because that's, Michael will never be forgotten. He's got such charisma, and he just looks so amazing, and his heart was on his sleeve. You just felt when he was singing all those emotions. I mean, it was great with John Stevens. We've had quite a few others as well, haven't we?
Terence Trent D'Arby, who is now known by another name, was frontman for a little while. I suggested to the band members Vanessa Amorosi, who is a brilliant singer. Oh, wow, she's dynamite. So who knows? Who knows if there'll be another chapter to the story?
Yeah.
I would like, though, and this is for another podcast for another day, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame must induct INXS. It's an absolute disgrace that they haven't. I'm certain of this, that there has been some maybe animosity towards 80s bands. It's almost as though a collection of those important bands from the first half of the 80s were forgotten. I checked earlier, Duran Duran was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2022, 3 years after Foo Fighters. Now, the Foo Fighters' first album came nearly 15 years after the first Duran. How does that work?
I don't know. I know that
Radiohead was inducted before Duran Duran, and their first album, Pablo Honey, dropped 10 years after the first Duran. How does that work? How do you induct a 90s band
I don't know.
years before an 80s band?
And it's going to kill me this year, and I think they will be nominated. Oasis will be nominated, and it will really break me up if they get nominated. Well, if they get nominated for one before INXS and they get inducted before INXS. And we all know that the riff that went on for a while, and public.
That really upset Michael, I understand.
Terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. So just to write that right, I think, INXS need to be in as soon as possible. In fact, we should be knowing all of this within the next couple of days, because it's usually around about now each year that the nominations come out. So it might even be, while this podcast comes out, we actually might be nominated. But again, we've got the 50th anniversary next year. Maybe that will actually put that into people's mindsets and forefront that INXS were this global phenomenon back in how many years? Like nearly 20 years.
Well, that's a story for another day, and there's probably a conversation to be had about what fans can do to shake the trees and get INXS into that rock hall. But it's long overdue. There's no doubt about it.
Well, as soon as they're nominated, we just need everyone to vote every day. And like the Duran Durans, they were just berserk. They went mad for it. And if you are a Duran Duran fan out there and you love INXS as well, please, tell us how you did it, because we need to get INXS inducted. They so deserve it. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Lars. It's been an absolute blast. And I hope to invite you back. And would you come back?
Of course I will.